Hello everyone, back tuning into today's video. We're going to have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days. For today's video, that's going to take us to around the 6th of September. So we can extend out beyond that with the extended GFS and ECMWF. They run to around a couple of weeks. And also we'll have a look at CFSB2 for the next month. I'm running so late today, so I'm not going to talk about anything else. You know the videos that have been released so far today. Have a look at those. Let's get on with it. We're going to start off by having a look at what's happening in the tropical Atlantic. So we have two areas of interest. We have Tropical Depression 6 just there and Tropical Storm Dorian just there. In terms of Tropical Depression 6, this is what is forecast to happen. We're going to go up to Tropical Storm quite shortly by the look of it. That's the current position of the Tropical Depression, but by tomorrow morning it's up to Tropical Storm status, runs off the eastern seaboard of America, runs northwards off the east seaboard of America, becomes post-tropical up here towards the end of the week around Newfoundland. It doesn't look like that's going to impact any sort of inland areas. And then of course we've got Tropical Storm Dorian. So the current position of Tropical Storm Dorian is just there. Now, a couple of days ago, this was being forecast to reach hurricane status. At the moment, this is being maintained as a tropical storm as it moves up to Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic and then heads up to the Bahamas and Florida by the weekend. They're keeping that with forecasts from National Hurricane Center at a tropical storm. But they're certainly not ruling out the chance that it might actually go up to hurricane status. It's one of those that's sort of on a knife edge. So these are the key messages with Tropical Storm Dorian. So point number one, they're saying Dorian is expected to bring tropical storm conditions to portions of the Lesser Antilles during the next several hours. That's the current position, therefore. Where tropical storm watches and warnings are in effect. Rainfall of 3 to 6 inches expected from Martinique through to St. Vincent, with isolated totals as high as 10 inches. Can you believe? Possible. That's just within a few hours. And this is only tropical storm. It's not a hurricane. So just go show the wall of water you get with kind of like a category 4 or 5 hurricane. It must be absolutely extraordinary amount of water that can be produced by these features. Point number two is that tropical storm conditions are expected and hurricane conditions are possible in Puerto Rico on Wednesday, where a tropical storm warning and hurricane watch have been issued. Rainfall totals of 2 to 4 inches with maximum totals of 6 inches are possible there. Then point number three is that hurricane and tropical storm watches have been issued for portions of the Dominican Republic. And finally, point number four is that while uncertainty remains high, wind and rain impacts in the Bahamas and Florida later this week and into the weekend are possible. Residents in these areas should monitor the progress of Dorian and ensure that they have their hurricane plan in place. So, although, let's go back to it, the forecast is to maintain this as a tropical storm from its current position there all the way to Florida on Sunday. Although that's the forecast, they're certainly not ruling out the possibility that this could strengthen up to a hurricane. So all eyes will definitely be on Dorian in the days ahead. Coming back to home, it's very, very hot out there in the southeastern part of the country. This is from xcweather.co.uk, of course, latest observations. We've got 33 degrees now, flashing away in Cambridge. I wonder if that's at the Botanical Gardens again. 33 degrees is around 91 to 92 Fahrenheit. So it's really hot out there in that southeastern corner. Several other stations up to 33. London City is at 32, for example. I think got Heathrow up to 32, 90 Fahrenheit as well. Luton is at 31, 88 Fahrenheit. Bedford is at 31, 88 Fahrenheit. Coming into the Midlands, Church Lawford is at 29. Birmingham is at 27. So it's definitely very, very warm down in that far southeast corner. But up in the northwest, it's much cooler. Look at that. Just 13 degrees there at Stornoway. Only 55 Fahrenheit. And 13 degrees at South, I think that's South Uist. I'm sure someone will tell me in the comments how you pronounce that. It looks like it should be South But in any case, the outer temperature is much, much cooler. Autumnal temperatures up there, whereas in the far southeast, it's baking hot. Those cool temperatures in the far northwest, sign of things to come. There's a cold front sitting to the northwest of the country that will be pushing across in the next 24 hours or so, introducing cooler air to all parts of the country. Temperatures will be dropping. This is the last day of the excessively hot weather for that southeastern corner. This is how the central temperature is doing. So, of course, the past few days have been hot, so it's been going up and up. So we are now well into the 17s again. CET currently stands at 17.4. Provisional to yesterday, 26th of August. That's 1.5 degrees above average. It's very nearly the hottest month of the summer. July came in at 17.5, of course. It's probably going to go past July in the next couple of days. I would anticipate in the next day or so it's going to get around 17.6 or maybe even 17.7. But then the final couple of days of the month we'll probably see it levelling off. And then we normally get a downwards correction as well. Normally shave off about 0.2 or 0.3 of the degree. So in the end, I think July is just about going to come out as the hottest month of the summer. August will be very warm though. It's going to have a CET above 17 degrees. I would anticipate it's going to be somewhere around 17.2 perhaps. Maybe a little bit less than that, but should certainly be comfortably in the 17s, I think, even with shaving off that 0.2 or 0.3 of a degree. Now, if you get 2 summer months, July and August, with CETs in the 17s, you can say you've had a warm or a very warm summer. So this has been a very warm summer through Central England. Not a classic. A classic summer will get you into the 18s, at least one of the months. With the CET. So those are the summers that kind of like last year, 2018 got into the 19s actually with July's CET last year. And sort of summers like 1995, 1976, all of those summers will have CETs above 18.0. Those are your classic hot summers. This is kind of like on the tier down from that for the Central England region. So it's a very good summer this. It's a very warm summer, but it's not quite a classic. What is evident with this summer, though, is that it gets progressively hotter the further south you go. So in southern England, I suspect you have had something, but it's probably quite close to a classic hot summer, actually, down across the far south of England. But on the other hand, this summer, it's a very strange summer. It also gets progressively cooler and wetter the further north you go. So if you get up to Scotland and Northern Ireland, you have probably had quite a poor summer. Actually, we'll know when the final stats come in how the UK is ranking for this summer. But that's my sort of interpretation. But the further north you go, the cooler the summer is. The further south you go, the hotter the summer gets. So if southern England, probably something quite akin to a classic hot summer. For Wales and the Midlands, a very warm summer, but a tier down from a classic. For Northern England, okay, neither good or particularly bad. For Scotland and Northern Ireland, probably quite a poorish summer. That will be my interpretation, but we'll know next week when the final stats come in at the UK Met. These are the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles. Next couple of weeks, we're looking at Walsall in the Midlands today. So the red line here is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Walsall. We're starting off very hot, of course, at the moment, 15 Celsius, 850 HPA still. But you can see the temperature trend, both with the upper air temperatures will be true, for the surface temperatures too, are pretty much downhill all the way now. So by the end of the week, by Thursday, for example, we are back down, actually a little bit cooler than average. Bit of a tick up there, Friday to Saturday, but it's associated with low pressure and potentially some quite wet weather. And then beyond that, quite cool through weekend into next week, and through the first sort of rest of the first week of September into the second week of September, very close to average with temperature. Precipitation wise, these spikes just here are associated with the hot weather cooling down. So initially that's thundery, and then tomorrow we're going to bring a cold front across the country that might have some rain on it, and then quite big precipitation spikes Friday through to Saturday. Just there, that is a fairly active area of low pressure. It could give us a little bit of a soaking on Friday night into Saturday, and then beyond that, just rather showery really as we go through the rest of the first week and into the second week of September. Temperature anomalies from the 27th of August, 4th of September, actually close to average. For the north and west, it's a little bit cooler than average. For the southeast, it's a little bit warmer than average. Precipitation anomalies north-south split, wetter than average in the north, drier than average in the south. But I suspect these might trend a little bit wetter for southern counties. That's a GFS for Friday, so looking rather unsettled. Low pressure is up to the north, high pressure down to the south, and there's a wavy weather front as well that's developing an area of low pressure along that front. So as you get through to Saturday, this low pressure swings in from off the Atlantic and could bring some quite wet weather even into southern southeastern parts of the country. If that gets out of the way for Sunday, we're into a cool and showery northwesterly wind, and then Monday through to Tuesday, rather cool, rather showery, particularly for the north, a little bit drier down in the southwest. And then into Wednesday, quite a bit of uncertainty with this pattern. The high pressure is just to our southwest, but to the north we've got areas of low pressure running in along the jet stream. So quite how unsettled it gets next week is a little bit doubtful. But what we can say is that this is a relatively cool wind direction, and it could actually turn out that next week is a little bit more unsettled than you might envisage from the weather patterns. Up to day 10, we keep the high pressure out to our west. There's some sort of cold front swinging down across the country there on Friday, day 10, Friday the 6th of August. That could be bringing more rain with it. And it's turning wind into the north. So, again, quite cool, really, up to day 10. Friday the 6th of September. In the more extended range, the pattern sort of continues. High pressure remains to our west-southwest. Low pressure is up to our north. So certainly no sign of anything particularly warm with that. Temperatures will probably be quite close to average at times, particularly in the northern areas. Could be a little bit on the cool side. GM looks like that. So again, we've got this low pressure developing in the Atlantic on Friday. That swings in through Saturday. Could give us some quite wet weather on Saturday. Sunday, we're into a cool, showery northwesterly wind, and that takes us through to the early part of next week too. Now the GM is making more of that low pressure around the middle of next week than the GFS. So there it is, moving in from the Atlantic. So as I say, this is quite a complicated pattern in detail. This with high pressure just to the west-southwest, but also a relatively active jet stream and low pressure to the north-northwest. It can actually start to turn out to be a little bit more unsettled than you might expect. So that actually looks quite cool and wet there on Wednesday next week, 4th of September. That low moves into the North Sea and we turn wind into the north, so quite cool up to day 10, which is Friday the 6th of September. This could be quite a cool first week to September. ECM looks like that. Again, we've got this developing waving frontal system in the Atlantic on Friday, but develops into an area of low pressure for Saturday. Could give us some quite wet weather on Saturday. That gets out of the way late Saturday into Sunday. We're into a cool and showery northwesterly wind, and that cool showery northwesterly takes us into the early part of next week. Here comes this next low pressure around the middle of next week, so not quite as much as with ECM compared to GM, but it's probably bringing, certainly for northern areas, quite a bit of wet weather for the middle part of next week as well. Winds still remain from the northwest, so it's relatively cool for all of us. And then up to day 10, generally the pattern is maintained. High pressure to the southwest, low pressure to the northwest. Looks rather flat, so temperatures aren't going to be particularly exciting, and certainly for the north, anyway, quite an unsettled pattern. These are the options got on the table in the ECM ensembles today for day 10, which is the 6th of September. From the Icelandic Met Office, we have 17 members of the ECM ensembles with low pressure to our east and northeast. High pressure is in the middle of the Atlantic. They're going to be bringing in wind from the northwest. We have 13 with high pressure just to our west, low pressure to our east. That's relatively dry but quite cool. 11 with a trough of low pressure over the top of the country. High pressure as mid-Atlantic ridge. That's going to be cool and unsettled. That's potentially the most unsettled of the scenarios for day 10. And then 10 down here with a ridge from Scandinavia to the north of Scotland, and they're bringing in the wind from the east. That's probably the driest and warmest option, but there's only 10 of those in the minority. And then we go through to 2 weeks' time, which is the 11th of September. These are the options that we've got. 19 members of the ECM ensembles with low pressure to the north, high pressure to the southwest. They're rather flat, bringing in those westerly winds. 10 with a Scandinavian high, but low pressure potentially threatening from the south. That could be threatening heavy rain or maybe even thunder. 9 with low pressure in the Atlantic into the UK. That's the most unsettled of the scenarios. That could be very wet. And then 8 with high pressure just to our south. low pressure to the north, and then 5 with a trough of low pressure over Scandinavia, and to the east of us, high pressure in the Atlantic, winds in from the northwest. That's probably the coolest option that's on the table, but again, there's only 5 of those. I think generally the first week to 10 days of September, maybe even the first half of September, looks rather cool and rather showery overall. Let's just have a look at CFSV2. These are 500 millibar heights broken down to week periods. The first week period takes from the 27th of August to the 2nd of September. It's a transitional week, so the high pressure that's brought us a heat wave is being pushed back into eastern northeastern parts of Europe, with low pressure developing in the Atlantic, forcing that high pressure back and introducing cooler air from off the Atlantic. So although it starts off hot, gradually it's breaking down and turning cooler. By the time we get through to week 2, which is the 3rd to the 9th of September, the trough is through west of Europe. The ridge is pulled out to the middle of the Atlantic, and the ridge that gives us a heat wave is over in the east of Europe and west of Russia. And so we're on the cool side of the jet. We're just looking rather cool and unsettled there through the first full week of September. Oops, that's gone wrong. Let's go to there. And this is week 3. It's the 10th to the 16th of September. Low pressure to the north, high pressure to the southwest. That's rather flat westerly. Probably a bit mixed, especially for the north, and temperatures won't be particularly exciting either. I mean, actually, sounds a bit more unsettled in week 4. It's the 17th to 23rd of September. High pressure pulls further away from us into the middle of the Atlantic. Low pressure digging in from the north, from Greenland and Iceland. In comes the jet stream on the northwest southeast trajectory. That's cool and unsettled too. For a couple of weeks now, CFS has been hinting at quite a cool and unsettled September, really, with a few exceptions. 1 or 2 of the updates have been warmer and drier, but overall this looks like a relatively mixed September if the CFS is right. Temperature anomalies from the 27th of August to the 2nd of September, warmer than average. Remember, that's because it's starting off hot and will be cooling down. 3rd to the 9th of September is cooler than average, quite significantly so, particularly for northern parts of the country. Week 3 is the 10th to the 16th of September, and that also hints at being cooler than average. Week 4 rounds it all off. By this point, the signal is weakening and we're close to average. But I suspect, given the 500 millibar height anomaly, that'd probably still be quite a cool week as well. And then lastly, precipitation. The coming week is wetter than average for northern parts of the country, 27th of August, 2nd of September, near normal elsewhere. Then we hint at being a bit on the wetter than average side, but especially in the north into week 2, 3rd to the 9th of September, that one looks wetter than average. Week 3, average to a little bit wetter than average. Certainly nothing particularly dry. Notice most parts of Europe also look quite unsettled. And then week 4, the signal gets weaker the further out we go, but if anything, we probably still favour slightly above average rainfall. So this is looking like a relatively cool and mixed first half to September. It's to be determined how unsettled it gets, because as I said back in a few minutes ago, it's a subtle pattern and it's quite a difficult pattern in terms of detail. So just how active these areas of low pressure are as they run in with the jet stream over the top of this ridge that's going to be sitting just to our southwest will determine how unsettled this gets. But the jet stream and the wind direction looks like it's going to be largely aligned either west to east or possibly at times northwest to southeast, which is not going to be particularly warm. In fact, it could be quite a cool first half of September. Where we go then through past the middle of the month in the second half of September, that is much more speculative. Right, so that's put you up to date with everything. I hope you found the video interesting and informative. Don't forget to check out those 2 other videos that we released earlier, Stormwatch and the E7F 30-day look ahead. Yeah, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.